Why did you stay at Regis Jesuit through your time here? What really drew you to the school?
I've always wanted to be a teacher. I like the students we have here, generally. I came to Denver because it was a place I could do both high school and college teaching. I still do part-time at the college. So I liked the climate, I liked the people. There was no reason to move anyplace. This is the oldest building on campus. This is the first Regis building in Denver. All right. You can see this is from the 1950s and 60s. It's the same building. You get a picture down here of what it looked like before each of the buildings started. I think it's down there. This is an aerial view of the campus. So that's the building we're in right now, this one, first one. And that was the next building built, the first dorm for residences. You can see it's farmland around there. In the middle of a rural. That street back here, 52nd Street, that's the city limits of Denver. Well, here's what I was looking for. Here's what it looked like when it was first built. You can see there's no other buildings around. It's way out in the northern suburbs. That lake is no longer there. There was a time when, back in rougher days, seniors used to grab freshmen and throw them into the lake. But that is a tradition long gone. And the lake actually disappeared back in the 60s. For about 30 years, this is the way you came to Regis High School or college. You came off what is now Lowell's 52nd then. And you drove up here, and the high school parking lot was over there. Statue. The bottom two floors, the one around, the one below, were the high school. And we'll go upstairs in a minute. And at either end of the corridors, the rooms are also part of the high school. Other than that, it was the Jesuit residence. Here's a mixture. At the time, it was both a high school and a college, so you could go from 9th grade to equivalent of graduating college. You can tell the various ages of the kids. Notice in those days, everybody wore hats. It was a thing that everybody wore hats. This is right around the turn of the century, 1899. High school, this floor, and part of this floor. This is the college, that's the dorm, that's where the Jesuits lived. This is from the 60s when Regis College, not the high school, became co-ed, admitted women students for the first time. Freshmen had to wear those beanie hats so that told everybody you were a freshman. Alright, let's see. I think it's going to be open. You can't tell it now. But back in the 60s and 70s, this was the high school cafeteria.
Oh.
Nothing like intelligent people sitting at computers, but hungry teenagers scarfing down hamburgers, which was the only thing they sold. That's really true. All the cafeteria served were hamburgers. That was it.
Hamburgers?
Hamburgers. You brought your lunch or you just bought a hamburger. That was it.
Can't go on with hamburgers,
No, the woman who cooked it for like 20 years, nobody knew her real name. All the students called her Hamburger Annie. Okay, this was the chapel. Here, first chapel. There'll be other chapels, but this was the first one. Only held maybe 100 people. And the Jesuit and faculty dining room is back through that door there. Now it's just offices. Now there was a door here And the rest of this corridor, until we get to the end, was where Jesuits lived. Not the students didn't occasionally wander in here. These are all private rooms for Jesuits here. Now, this is a pretty good view here. The chapel's new, it's like 8-10 years old. But the old high school gym was there. And that's where you played your games. Varsity games were played over in the gym, but you practiced over here. And all your sweat clothes were kept there.
Away from the main building.
Now when you got here, the Jesuit space ended. These were classrooms again. They still are classrooms. If we open it up, just around the classroom. Everything's locked nowadays.
Yeah.
Now, highest floor, the 4th floor that we're going up to. But that was the place where every school starts.
Yeah.
So the place, that was where all the ghosts were supposedly there. That's where there were crazy people in the attic. That's where bad students were taken up in the punishment. They were. What are stories about the 4th floor?
They still keep it locked off today.
It was up there. One time, one of the more famous pranks that the students did, we had a faculty teacher, a woman who was kind of nervous, fine lady and everything. And she drove an old VW Bug, you know what those were? Okay. So a bunch of seniors just literally picked up her Bug out of the parking lot, the faculty park right down here below us, and carried it up 4 stairs and parked it, just placed it on the 4th floor. And when she came over after school, she couldn't find her car. And finally, some student went down and told her, parked up there in the sacred mysterious. We can go down this way, that's fine.
What relationships have you built with people? What are some of the strongest relationships you've built over the time?
Well, the strongest ones are with people you've taught with for a long time. So that builds a bond. Students, as you know, you teach 120 students. You're going to know some of them very well and some of them only slightly. And some, after they pass on beyond your classes, you won't have much contact with at all. But a few do keep in contact over the years, and those form strong relationships, so that was good. But anyway, these are classrooms down here.
This is actually the advancement office.
Oh, the advancement office now.
It is. So we've been reformatted.
Which happens about every 3 or 4 years.
As needed.
My long-term friend, Langfield.
Bernie retired.
That's what my next question. She retired finally?
She did. She retired on Halloween.
Oh my gosh. I taught her kids in this building here when it was...
She retired because she still had a lot of things to do.
What was she, like 82 or something?
93.
93. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
93.
If I had half her energy now, much less then,
Yeah,
I'd be better for it.
Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
But anyway, this was the bathroom for the whole school, for all the students.
The whole school.
Yeah, if you went in there, there were like 4 urinals and 4 or 5 stalls, and that was it for the whole school. Now, the school wasn't as big as it is now, but there were still like 500 kids in it, even 500 or 600 kids.
So, what's your favorite part about teaching all boys?
They rise to challenges more quickly. When they make a mistake, they don't hang on to it. So, you can jug a kid one day and the next day everything's all right again. We're just getting on with life. When they get in trouble, they're usually pretty honest. They don't try to dodge it. Every now and then somebody tries to come up with a story, but most of the time, I did it. We'll get on with it. There's no difference intellectual-wise. Boys and girls are equally smart, so that's not a problem. In the upper division classes, so especially seniors, there are some courses you'd like to have both boys and girls in. Say you're taking a piece of literature, and to have both male and female input would really be helpful. And we may get to some of that. At the lower levels, like 9th and 10th grade, 9th grade boys and 9th grade girls are not the same age. And to have them separated so you're not playing the who likes who game, or do I get to sit next to the pretty girl, or any of this kind of stuff, that all happens outside the classroom, doesn't happen in the class. So at the younger level, it's much better to do, I think, what we've done and separate them. And then as they grow, the ages come together. By the time you get to senior year, they're pretty close. In college, it's all evened out. But if you notice, like even in high school, the senior boys will tend to date junior girls, and junior guys will tend to date sophomore girls. There's just that maturity difference. Office, like Mr. Doherty's office now. And back behind that were the faculty offices. So now it's the college business office. The students would come in this door. If you had to stop at the light, if you're away or something, of course you had to stop at the dean's office. Again, it's just offices, but it was one big classroom all the way back. When they were remodeling this, they dug the floor. The floor had a wooden surface and had about a 3-foot crawl space under the floor. And they were cleaning it out, and they found, and this had to be like 1980, they found newspapers from the Spanish-American War that had been preserved because it was so dry that they were preserved for.
Wow.
There were headlines about Cuba and the Spanish-American War. So
Some things never change.
yeah, you can look through it. It's just just a huge empty classroom, but this was the chapel for many, many years. Very good man, Bob Sullivan. There was always a certain amount of rivalry between the high school and the college for space, for funds. I mean, even people of great goodwill. Like we had to share science labs, and we had to share the field house for games.
Throughout the years, so since I know you came here in 1961, teach till 1964, and then returned in 1969,
Right.
if I'm correct.
68 actually, finished in 69.
Oh, okay. And what has been the biggest change from when you started teaching?
You mean in students or in buildings? Obviously we're a lot larger. We've changed physical location, methods of education, and when I started there were no computers. You actually did math in your head without a calculator. As far as the essentials of what it means to be a human being, those haven't changed. Modern technology has given us a lot of advantages in terms of accessibility to information. On the other hand, it's made people much less patient. They don't dig long and hard at topics like they used to. If they can't find their answer pretty quickly, they give up and go on to something else. Attention span is shorter, so it's a mixed bag. Now the administration, up until 1987, the high school and the college are one educational corporation. And there's one business office, one administration. Then they separated into a high school and a college, mostly because of funding. Government funds were available for things like dorms, student union, libraries, but not to religious institutions. And the way the law worked then is if you were a university or a college, then you were considered primarily educational and only secondarily religious. But a high school is considered primarily religious and secondarily educational. So you had to get the high school out of there to make government funds available. And so they split, and then the high school got a donation of land out where we are now. And some people say, well, sell the land and rebuild the high school, because the high school has the strong north end of presence. But they managed then finally to build this building to expand the high school to relieve some of the pressure on, the shared spaces for.
Right.
Well, this is part of the university now. The university brought out the high school. So from about, the middle 80s, no, earlier than that, late 70s until we moved out to the south. This was the main high school building, but we still use the bottom 2 floors of the other building. I'm pretty sure this room is locked and all that.
Everything. Oh!
Now, they've enlarged it a bit, so imagine a space about 2/3 this big, okay? And levels, we were so tight on money that this room, which had classes, we used it for what we now call the American Studies Club. We have a class of 60 students, 2 teachers. There were no desks. The floor was like that, so you sat on the floor. And of course, you get back against that, and we taught that way for several years. Now it's just your traditional college.
Yeah.
And there'll be the typical student who will come in, and only 5 students in the class, and they'll sit right in the back of the come on.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you go into the gym, the back row fills up the fastest.
Well, students, we all have questions, but what is the greatest thing that you've learned from students in your time here?
You have to listen. Being a teacher in a certain sense gives you a certain amount of brief power. In other words, you're the one up in front talking, and the students are supposed to be listening. And sometimes you can get in a mindset that says, "Oh, I've got to say so much," but you always have to remind yourself the important thing isn't what I say, but it's what the students hear. And I'll really only know what the students hear when I listen to what they say or write in return. So you always have to listen, and listen not just for clarity and logic, but listen with empathy, not just to what they think, but to what they feel. And that's when the real communication, the real learning takes place. This was the high school cafeteria. Didn't have carpet, didn't have this one. Had a small wall about this high that was brick, and the senior section was up here, and the rest of the school. Big deal.
Ah, yes.
By this time we had varied the menu just a little bit. It wasn't all just hamburgers.
The occasional hot dog.
The occasional hot dog. That door, well, let's see. There was a balcony down in the right behind.
Yeah, where it's all wooded up.
One day toward the end of school, you're like, now the seniors started spreading a rumor about a senior prank. And what they spread, especially so the juniors would hear it, was that at a given signal at lunch, all the seniors are going to stand up and throw food at the juniors. So all the juniors say, "That's what the seniors going to do." So they all armed themselves to throw the food back.
Yeah.
So at the signal, all the seniors stood up and they, I think, threw food. They didn't throw anything, their hands were empty. But the juniors were all ready, they came and threw food back, so half the junior class got jugged. And the seniors were all like, that's of course what they wanted.
Yes.
This building was expanded in stages, so if we needed to do it, if you follow those corridors down, you'll find several classroom corridors. The numbers are a little weird, like going down to 1 or up to 2. Then farther down, you'll come across an old gym, okay? Now I think it's partly computer rooms. No games were played in there, but it was for phys ed and things like that. But this really helped. It relieved the space. Could handle a few more students. And so this was the main school building until the move in 1990. The move was very, very debated. I say Denver, Regis and North Denver had been identified. That building that we started in 1886.
Yeah.
So we've been North Denver institution for 100 years.
Right.
But the enrollment, for some reason, in Denver was going down. So we were down to a little under 500 students. And so Ralph Houlihan was the president, and we had that land that was donated out, where the school is now.
Yep.
But the donor gave it with a very specific, it could only be used for a school. You couldn't sell it and use the money for something else. And the college was expanding, and the college wanted this building for some of its programs. So after some, not unfriendly, but very kind of tough negotiations, and I was on the negotiating committee, we worked out a deal where the college bought this building for enough money that the high school could build what's now the girls' division.
Yeah.
Could build that building. All right. And the college took this over, and the high school moved out there in 1990. And money was very tight. We didn't get our occupancy permit till like 3 o'clock the day before school opened, something like that. But it's worked out well. I mean, the population in that area has supported us quite well. We're the one Catholic school that is. Okay, so this wasn't a gradual upslope. It was level up until the top of that hill, and there was the building was flush against it, and there was like a wall of grass that comes down.
Yeah.
So, and one morning, as the kids come in that doorway there, their parking lot was still in roughly the same spot it is.
Yeah.
Come in the door, somebody looked down, and probably 30 feet from where we are, but about a 25-foot drop.
Yeah.
There was a dead body laying on the ground. The students called the faculty member, fortunately, and then of course we called the police. Apparently what happened, some college student had gotten drunk the night before, and the wall was about 3.5, 4 feet high, and he was tried to walk the wall and talk a little, and maybe said like that. The night before and just lay there all night. Whether he died right away or not, we don't know, but he was dead when the student found him in the morning. But that's where it happened, right in here.
That's
the dead body. I don't know anything more about the guy, anything else. I see that the landscape is changing enough. They got to use your imagination to see who was there.
Yeah, if it was just right from the top there all the way down where we were.
Yeah, right. So that's the dead body story. Not that exciting.
So, what has been the high point of your career at Regis?
Each year, take it day by day. It'd be wrong to pick out a high point and say the others are lower than that. But the days when it's clear the students are getting it and they're with you, those are better days than the days when they're watching the clock and wondering when the period's going to end. An old Jesuit, and he was. He liked to put on a rough exterior. He was as hard-nosed as could be. But inside he was soft. He talked to students. You'd think he hated students from the way they talked. He had some peculiar phrases of his own. Your paper stunk so bad I had to hold it out the window to correct it, and this kind of thing. But he drilled the kids, old-fashioned teacher just drilled them. They learned their algebra. They were very strict. You talked back, you were in detention that afternoon, or preferably Saturday morning. Came out here, and that was, but he, if you got sick, he was there to visit you in the hospital. When your family members died, he was at the funeral. So everybody has, everybody who went through have Father Krieger stories. Bob Guptill was an old science teacher. And he did things in the classroom you probably couldn't get away with it now. But one of his favorite was to teach, I think it was velocity he was teaching. So he'd string a pendulum with a large ball, I mean like a bowling-sized ball. And he taught freshman science. So he'd tell some freshmen, come up here. Now, of course, Bob had to figure out exactly the pendulum was going to swing and stop right here and then swing back again.
Right.
So he'd tell this freshman, okay, you stand right here and don't move. And he'd go and he'd swing the ball. And of course, the poor freshmen, they always move. They go, ah, you get out of the way, you know. It wasn't, he could never get anybody to stand still. Just he's going to get there. Did all kinds of strange experiments. He was a remarkable person. Now this isn't really something for your... We didn't have academic support in those days. So
No cookies, I don't think.
No cookies. No, you had to wait for lunch and get your hamburger. Or else whatever lunch your mom had packed for you. Yeah. No off campus or anything like that. Just,
yeah, I'm not sure there would be many places to go.
There weren't. In those days, there really weren't. Where the old Kmart in that whole corner is now, that was a golf driving range. Federal was busy, but not like now with a half a dozen fast food places and restaurants.
Right.
Yeah. There was a lot of sadness when the move to the South came, but Ralph Houlihan, Father Houlihan, took a lot of abuse, some in private, some in public, for ruined Regis, and some will never go another dime to Regis. Graduates died down, but every now and then you'll still get somebody who says, I refuse to go there. Regis is North Denver. 25 years later, it hasn't died. It's almost died away. Almost died.
Yeah.
The one thing we lost a lot of the north side kids. We lost not all the Boulder kids. There's still one carload, busload that comes down.
Yeah.
But we used to have a lot more kids from Boulder and Longmont. We lost most of those. North Denver was more of a working class population. The kids had a stronger work ethic. They weren't any smarter or not, but didn't have parents calling lawyers. They didn't think the teachers were doing something right. You got in trouble? Take care of it. It's your problem. We still get strong parental support, but there are parents who... What do you mean by sin? He did not do that. It must be the teacher's fault.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff goes on. Students now are a little wealthier, a little more upper class. In practically every family we teach has 2 cars.
Right.
Wasn't the case back in the South. So I miss a little bit of that element that I wish I had. A few more of the kids that had to work their way through school. A lot of kids that are working to pay off their tuition. I personally think that's healthy, rather than just being given it.
Yeah.
And what is a legacy you want to leave with all your students?
A couple years ago I was interviewed and I put it this way. A free mind seeking truth will find its way to God, but the nature of the path and the appearance of the divine will be infinitely various. So in other words, you have an open mind always, you're open to experience, and you learn from that experience. You make sure that as far as you can, you run your own life. Forces outside of it don't run you. And that's a big danger in modern times. Look at your life like a book, and it's blank pages. And either the world is going to write on the pages and say, this is you, this is what you did, or you're going to be the one, I'm going to write the pages of my own life. And I want each student, as far as I can, that has contact with me, to feel that what we share in the classroom makes them able to write a better book of their own life.